Hi guys, this is the second video of the video series that I have started on the history of English literature. If you haven't watched yet the first video that I made on Anglo-Saxon period, you could go back, watch that video first. Link will be given in the description box below. Then you can watch this video. So in this video basically I will discuss the historical background of this period. Then I will discuss some literary characteristics and important works of this period. Then towards the end of this video I'll take some important MCQ questions that will be helpful for any competitive exam in regard to this period, and especially if you're preparing public exam or presidency university, then it will be very helpful. So let's get started. Now the historical background: Norman conquest that happened in 1066 AD. So you must remember this date particularly because it is very important. So Norman basically a French dialect, so you can say that this was Anglo-Norman period or Anglo-French period as well. So both of it means the same. So Norman conquest divided the English period in two parts: Anglo-Saxon, which was before 1066 AD, and then Anglo-French or Anglo-Norman, which was after 1066 AD. So in the Norman conquest, what happened that Norman French army that was led by William the Conqueror or the William the Duke of Normandy, and the English army was led by King Harold Godwinson. This French ruler, William the Duke of Normandy or William the Conqueror, he won this battle and defeated the King of Harold of England. What happens that French speaking ruling class was established. So French influenced both vocabulary pronunciation of English people. So a new language formed. So Anglo-French became the language of aristocrats, while Anglo-Saxon language became the language of the common man. So this French language was known as Norman French because Norman was one of French dialects. So average person spoke in Old English, while the upper class people spoke Norman French. And these two languages blended together to form Middle English language, which is an in-between language that bridged the development of our language from Old English to early modern English. Okay, so early modern English language started at the time of Chaucer, which is the third age of English. We will soon discuss this time period after this. Okay, the period between Anglo-Saxon and early modern English is the period of Middle English or Anglo-Norman or Anglo-French period. Now we'll move to Crusades and how it helped in the revival of the classical literature. Now, in the 11th century, the Pope called all the Christian people in Europe to fight against the Muslims to reclaim the Holy Land in the Near East, the Jerusalem. That you might know that the crusade fought, eight crusades fought, and so there are also many films based on this. You could watch The Kingdom of Heaven. Okay, so a holy war was fought called crusades, and the knights who went to fight this battle, so they are known as crusaders. The first crusade was called by Pope Urban II in 1095. So when these crusaders returned from the east, they brought with them the manuscripts and important texts that were composed by ancient Mediterranean society. This included ancient works of Greek philosophers, scientists, astronomers, mathematicians. So now this helped in cross fertilization. So after the tracks are brought by the knights to the English people, so cross fertilization means when ideas of one place come to another place. So exchange of ideas of two different places happen, and because of this two major things happen. So after the cross fertilization happens, two major things happen that are introduction of classical text and loss of the control by church and birth of university. So because remember after the crusades happened or the battle was fought, so because of too much bloodshed and deaths, people started bit by bit losing their faith in church. Okay, and it paved the way for reformation that was about to come later. Okay, so now we will discuss how did the church lose their power over people. So in 400 AD, the entire Europe was basically pagans. So if we go back before the Christianity was dominant in Europe, so the people were basically pagan. Christianity did not yet popular then, and the paganism gets extinct by the time Middle Age started now. So because of the hegemony of Christianity, the church got so much power and money. So churches were built around everywhere across Europe. Catholicism became dominant religion of Western Europe during Anglo-Norman period. Okay, so the popes had their universal law established across European countries. So all the Christians had to go by this universal law. Okay, then only the church served as a medium to educate people. So people often followed the church to get any interpretation of any text. Okay, so this gave church officials immense power over people. But when the cross fertilization happened, when the classical text of Greek and Romans were introduced to the English people, so when these texts were bought, what happens that due to the availability of this classical text, there was an increasing rate of literacy and growing accessibility to various texts, various types of texts. So people now no longer had to rely completely on clergy for answers. Okay, so clergy had to interpret those texts. People didn't have any scope to debate or question the preaching that the clergyman did then. So they were the only medium for education. So education, which was reserved for the clergy members, now decentralized. A new literary culture spread outside the church. So secular schools developed in villages that were not under the supervision of church. While the church lost their control on education, people started being more aware of the corruptions within the church. So this led to a call for reformation against the church, and there was a growing sense of distrust among people in regard to the church now. So because of this, a wave of reformation came in the age of revival later, when people stopped following Catholicism and they started their own new version of religion that is known as Protestant. So this is the happened gradually. Okay, now after that, the birth of university happened. So town schools developed in which the students were taught classical methods and ideas. So they were taught to reason and debate ideas with each other, unlike the clergymen did. Okay, earlier people didn't have the scope to debate the education given by the churches. These secular teachers now started building guilds. These were the association of similar people of similar profession to ensure quality and standard education. Okay, so if you see the classical text, if you read Republic by Plato or Socrates teaching method, so this is in a dialogue form. So there will be a major premise, minor premise, then there will be final conclusion. If you so they didn't get the direct answer, so they will ask you a question, so you have to interpret it, and so if it's wrong, then it will be debunked, and then finally after through lots of dialogue, then you will get to a conclusion. So there is the reason and debate through which you get to a conclusion, or get to a final solution, or you get to the truth, you get the truth. This is the way. So unlike the church, they directly throw at people that this is the thing, so you have to follow this. So it was not like this now. So these secular teachers started building guilds. These were association of similar people of similar profession. Teachers and students also build their own association to create their own standards and to protect themselves. So teachers started thinking about how to educate the student, how to form the question, how to take the classes. So they are all independent now. Okay, so these associations were known as universitas. Okay, so now it led to the birth of university. So now we move to literary characteristics. So English language now became a more standardized in terms of word order, spelling, sentences, usage of phonemes. So word order means after the subject there will be verb. Okay, there will be object. So this is a particular form. So this became more standardized. Spelling became more correct. Okay, sentences, the syntaxes, usage of phonemes. So phonemes is the particular sound, the distinct sound that distinguish one word from another, like sha, cha, ja, this kind of thing. Next, there are many dialects through which the people communicated then, but the London dialect became the standard dialect. So like for Bengali, so Kolkata dialect is the standard dialect. So there are many dialects. So like this London dialect became the standard dialect now. And there was a cycle of matter that was prominent during this period. Matter means the stories. Okay, the three cycle of matter of Britain, the poets and the writers, they used to write their own thing out of these three cycles. Okay, so the themes of the stories of these matters were mostly adventure, pursuit of courtly love, and knightly exploits. So the first was the Matter of Britain, the stories written about King Arthur and Arthurian legend. Okay, the second was Matter of France, stories written about the deeds of Charlemagne, whatever you pronounce. Okay, Charlemagne, you could say, a king who ruled in France during 700 AD. Now, Matter of Rome, the stories written about Alexander the Great and Trojan War. So these are the domain, you could say. So the poets used to take themes from this any of these matter, and they used to write their own poems. Okay. Now we'll move to some important works. So first, Geoffrey of Monmouth. So he's a central figure when it concerns to the development of British historiography. So he's said to have written three Arthurian texts. So it belongs to matter of Britain. Okay, and he wrote all these three Arthurian texts during mid 12th century. So between 1130s to 1150s. Okay, the first important is Historia Regum Britanniae. The second is Propheti Marleni, and the third is Vita Marleni. Now, we'll first discuss Historia Regum Britanniae. The English translation of this text is History of the Kings of Britain. So it chronicles the lives of the King of Britain over the course of 200 years, beginning with the Trojan founding the British nation and continuing until the invasion of Anglo-Saxon. So Brutus of Troy, who is said to have founded the British nation. So he is the mythical founder of British nation. After he founded Britain, there are only natives of Britain living there, and only after the Anglo-Saxon invasion did the actual British nation start. Brutus of Troy, founded before Christ, the time period was 2000 years ago. Okay, he is said to have founded the British nation. Then after the Anglo-Saxon invaded and settled down there, then the actual British nation started. This text, Historia Regum Britanniae, or in short you could say HRB, also a major document and source for the main Arthurian literature. So this work was also used as a material for other works by many writers or folklorists, including Shakespeare also. So who wrote King Lear and Cymbeline, borrowing from this work. Okay, and remember in this work, Geoffrey of Monmouth refers to himself twice, and in his other two works only once. Okay, and his other two works focus on the life of the famous character Merlin. First two other two works were Propheti Marleni, Vita Marleni. Propheti Marleni means the prophecy of Merlin. So character name is Merlin, not Marleni. And second is the life of Merlin, the Vita Marleni. So in his other two works focus on the life of the famous character Merlin, who is shown both as a king and a prophet. So Vita Merlin encapsulates, or it talks about Merlin's madness or post-traumatic stress disorder, that is also known as PTSD, after he encounters with a war and witnesses the death of his several close friends. So unlike those famous tales of knights subject to love sickness, it shows Merlin, who is a victim of PTSD. It shows a different story. Okay, now we'll move to the next poet, Voes. So Voes wrote Roman de Brut, having 15,000 lines in Norman French. So it's a verse translation of Geoffrey of Monmouth's HRB, Historia Regum Britanniae. The next is Lemon's Brut. So it's also known as Lemon's Brut. So this text was named after the mythical founder of Brutus of Troy. So it's written in Middle English. So remember, so it's written in Middle English, and the Voices Roman de Brut was written in Norman French. And Lemon's Brut also a verse adaptation of HRB, and it has alliteration. Okay, Pearl Poet. So next we will move to Pearl Poet. So this poet's actual name is unknown. So we do not know his actual name, but from his four works, he is either known as Pearl Poet. So he wrote a poem that's known as Pearl, also Gawain Poet. Okay, he wrote in Northwest Midland dialect. His four poems includes Pearl, Purity, Patience, and the fourth poem is Sir Gawain and Green Knight. These all four poems are kept in a manuscript, single manuscripts. So that is known as Cotton Nero AX. You just remember this name if you can. Now these three poems, Pearl, Purity, Patience, religious kind of poem. Okay, so Pearl, it's a medieval allegory. It's a dream vision poem. It involves a dream of a father who is mourning the loss of his daughter Pearl, and he falls asleep in his garden. And in his sleep, he encounters Pearl dressed in a very heavenly clothes, and she is standing near a heavenly city, and between him and her there is a stream. Okay, now she is saying that I'm a kind of person who can take you to the heavenly city, but when this dreamer attempts, the father attempts to cross the stream, he awakens from his dream and from his sleep. So when he gets out of his sleep, so he reflects on the significance of the heavenly city. Okay, so it's kind of religious kind of poetry regarding patience. So we do not know much about this poem. So the source of this poem is Vulgate's Bible. So Vulgate's Bible, it's written in Latin. Okay, so it's a Latin translation of the Bible. And the purity and cleanness, this poem basically talks about the virtues of cleanliness of body and delights of married love. So it also talks about three subjects from Bible, namely about the flood which happened at the end of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Now the next important poem that we'll discuss, that is Chanson de Geste. Okay, so it's a French name. So it means the songs of heroic deeds or songs of deeds. So Chanson means song and Geste means deeds. So it belongs to the matter of France. Okay, so it's an old French epic poem having more than 80 chansons or song. So most of the chanson of their 1,000 lines long. Okay, now it narrates the legendary story of the history of France during the 8th, 9th and 10th century and the age of Charlemagne, so the king of France. So there are many chansons or songs. So some important songs or chansons are Song of Roland, so an epic poem based on the Battle of Roncesvalles that happened in 778 century during the reign of Charlemagne. Now, the another important chanson is The Owl and Nightingale. So, it deals with the debate between an owl and a nightingale, overheard by the narrator, and it's a kind of modern nonsense literature or nonsense poetry, like the that we find in Lewis Carroll's poems or even in Bengali Sukumara's poem. Okay, so nonsense poem, it structurally seems to be nonsense kind of poetry for children particularly, but it has deeper meaning deep down. Okay, so here in this poem, the two birds argue on several topics ranging from hygienic habits, looks, human follies, human weakness, the proper mode of worship, etc. So you just get a hang of the summary, that will be enough for you. Now, on important that the Pearl poet, he wrote three poems: Pearl, Passion, and Purity. And there was also a fourth important poem, that was Sir Gawain and the Green Knights. Okay, so this poem talks about an incident that happened at the court of King Arthur. It involves Sir Gawain who accepts a challenge from the mysterious Green Knight and how it leads to the test of his courage and his chivalry of the character Sir Gawain. Okay, so it's between in two characters, Sir Gawain and Green Knights. Okay, the challenge was to fetch a blow at the Green Knight. So Green Knight comes to the court of King Arthur and he gives a challenge to fetch a blow at him, and on condition that is that in a year and in a day the Green Knight would do the same. Okay, and finally no one was ready to take up the challenge, but the Sir Gawain was ready. He took up the challenge and the story follows accordingly. So this is the main important works and historical background of this time period. Now we'll move to some important question for pub date. প্রথমে বলে দিই, পাব ডেটে এই টাইম পিরিয়ড থেকে বেশি কোশ্চেন আসে না। ইভেন ইফ ইউ সি ইন 2017, 18, 19 কোনো কোশ্চেনই বেসিক্যালি ছিল না, 64 থেকে বেসিক্যালি স্টার্ট করে। তাও সাম ইম্পর্টেন্ট যেগুলো না জানলে নয় করে রাখা দরকার। The first is the time period of the Norman conquest of England in the Battle of Hastings, that is 1066 AD. The next is during the Middle English period, many words are borrowed from two languages. Mention those two languages. So these two languages are Latin and French. Okay, just remember. And after the Norman conquest, England became a three-language nation for at least 2 centuries. The three languages were English, French, and Latin. Okay, because there was Anglo-Saxon English and then Norman French they attacked, and so French became prominent. And there was also classical texts. So those texts are written either in Latin or in Greek. Okay, So these three language, if you know the historical background, you would automatically get the idea. So প্রথমে অ্যাংলো স্যাক্সন ওরা ছিল, তো ওদের ইংলিশ ছিল, তারপর নরমান যখন আক্রমণ করলো, তো নরমান ফ্রেঞ্চ, ওটা তো অটোমেটিক্যালি প্রথমেই বলেছি যে ওদের একটা ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ এসছে। তারপর আবার ক্লাসিক্যাল টেক্সট এলো, ক্লাসিক্যাল টেক্সট হয় ল্যাটিনে লেখা, তা নাহলে গ্রিকে লেখা। So next is the one that became the standard English in Anglo-Norman period, that is London dialect that I discussed earlier. Which of the following was a characteristic feature of medieval literature? So there are four options. So the answer would be the popular genre of the bird and the beast fable. So like আমরা যেটা ডিসকাস করলাম, the owl and the nightingale. Okay, so it is between two birds. Okay, the next is which is not a religious poem. So Pearl, Passion, Purity, these three are religious. So the Historia Regum Britannica. And the final is was the first king of England, Brutus of Troy. Okay, so basically these are important works, and the যেই ওয়ার্কস গুলো আছে হিস্ট্রি অফ ব্রিটেনিয়া and the others যে ওয়ার্কস গুলো আছে চ্যানসনদের জেস্তে, সো চ্যানসনদের জেস্টে ইটসেলফ এজ এ কাইন্ড অফ জনর। সো এর মধ্যে অনেকগুলো চ্যানসন আছে, তার মধ্যে আমি দুটো ডিসকাস করলাম। সো এইগুলো জাস্ট মনে রাখার কে লিখেছে, যে ইম্পর্টেন্ট কিছু টাইম পিরিয়ড, ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজেস অফ দিস পিরিয়ড, ব্যাস, দ্যাট উইল বি এনাফ ফর ইউ। সো দ্যাটস ইট ইন দিস ভিডিও। আই উইল মিট সুন ইন দ্য নেক্সট ভিডিও। অ্যান্ড সো এই ভিডিও সিরিজের নেক্সট ভিডিও উইল ডিসকাস Chaucer period, the age of revival, then Renaissance. Thereafter that we'll go further. Thank you for watching this video, and if you have any question, you can drop it in the comment section below. Thank you.